Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Wednesday, December 22nd, 2021. And our top story today, this is a tough time for retirees on a fixed income. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more is Carrie Hannon. She's a columnist and author of the upcoming book, In Control at 50 Plus. Carrie, it's great to see you. Happy holidays. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thanks so much, Jeff. You know I love joining you, and always fun to have a good discussion about work and money and all that good stuff.
Yeah, this is important, and you don't have to be a senior. You don't have to be a mature individual to pay attention to all these great pieces of information that Carrie talks about, because the earlier you start, the better off you're going to be when you get to be my age, when you get to be our age. So, Carrie, let's talk about inflation, retirees on fixed incomes. This is really a challenging time for these individuals.
Yeah, you know, Jeff, it truly is. I mean, if you are on a fixed income, you've got to just, hold the horses. We've got this inflation and it's sticky. Everyone kept saying, no, it's just temporary, but it looks like it's here for a little bit longer. We heard the Fed talking about making some moves coming into the next year. But right now, if you're in a fixed income, you are seeing your cost of living going up, 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 right? So now's the time. It sounds simplistic, but let's look at that budget.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. I mean, the cost of food going up, the cost of gasoline going up. Now, we did get a cost of living adjustment on Social Security, so if people are taking Social Security, they should see a bump up. But candidly, Carrie, it's not going to be significant enough to eat into some of these costs.
I think it's true. And I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty numbers. Everyone can look those up themselves, but they're feeling it in their bank accounts and in their wallets. And it's great that there's a bump up in the Social Security, but at the same time, Medicare costs are going up. So you're getting hit from another angle if you're over 65 and you're on Medicare. So it really is, unfortunately, it's down to the individual to take a hard look at some of these expenses that they can cut back, that they can get lean and mean. Until we get through this period, you've got to be cognizant of what's happening out there.
Yeah, and look, I like lean and mean. I like to be lean and mean. If I can I'm working on that. But I think from a financial point of view, being lean and mean makes a lot of sense. Allows you to be agile, the ability to adapt to circumstances like this. Carrie, when you're unpacking your budget, what are things that you should be thinking about, not necessarily you, Carrie Hannon, or Jeffrey Snyder, but what we should be thinking about in terms of making our budgets lean and mean in 2022?
Yeah, it's tricky, but you're going to look at your transportation costs, gasoline, if you can, pare back trips and that sort of thing. Again, and I hate to bring up the word COVID, but some of us are still reluctant to do a lot of public transportation. So that's going to be one you need to be careful about. Grocery items, it's just, really looking and doing your shopping for deals. This is not necessarily the time, but if you honestly think inflation's here for a long time, it might be worth looking, especially if you're in the retirement mode. Do you want to move somewhere where the cost of living is, in general, lower than where you are right now? And this isn't a rash move. This takes time, but it's worth considering.
Yeah. Carrie, what about a lot of us use streaming services, and over the course of this pandemic, I'll use the P word, pandemic, a lot of us signed up for streaming services, the Paramount Pluses, the Peacocks. It's probably time to take a look at what the Netflixes, the Hulus. Probably, there's too many of them for me to name, but you know the point. The point is, you got to look at what you use and what you don't use.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you said that, because the streaming thing is important. That's a real easy to off the top of the list that you can cover. But talk to some of your other providers. If you have, a cable service or whatever, see if they can cut you any deals. So don't be afraid to ask for a little break, because sometimes you can get breaks in your subscription and it's just worth asking.
Yeah, and you look at internet providers, you bring up the cellular, or I guess they're not so cellular anymore. Let's call the mobile phone companies. They are willing to wheel and deal, because it's all about attracting, there's a finite number of people in the United States. There's 330 million, right? So it basically taking from one to go to the other, going from Verizon to T-Mobile, T-Mobile to whatever. it's important to negotiate a better deal for yourself if you can. And all you need to do is really look at that itemized list of fees and compare it to what you could get.
Yeah, and say, is there a better package for me? And they'll usually try to help you find one. I find many times, and say even with DirecTV, for example, to name one, their customer service people can be very helpful in trying to help you find a better package that's suited to your using.
Yeah, Carrie, I forgot to ask you this at the top of the segment, but let's talk about the new book that comes out. You can pre-order it on Amazon and a gazillion other websites. By the way, it's not a paid promo. We just love Carrie so much. We like to talk about her great books. Carrie, tell us about the book before we go to commercial break.
You are too kind. The book is taking a look at some of the trends in the workplace, the future of work, what's bubbling up in the workplace from what we've gone through the last year and a half, 2 years with the pandemic. What's it all mean? What are we seeing as trends, and how can we take advantage of these trends and not only prepare, but really embrace them? And some of these great ones you and I have talked about, it's, remote working, it's contract work, it's looking at entrepreneurship. I mean, there's some great things that are kind of coming forth that are getting up ahead of steam, and it's worth jumping into and seeing if maybe you can ride that wave.
That's going to be an awesome book. I can't wait for it to come back, because when it comes out, we're going to bring you back on the program and we'll talk about it. Carrie, I need to take a quick break. When we come back, you don't have to be Warren Buffett to give the charity. You can still make great charitable contributions. You're going to learn how if you stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
You need a financial plan that fits the way you want to live in retirement. A plan that can help grow and protect your money, now or in the future. With an annuity in your plan to help cover essential expenses, you'll have the freedom to live the retirement you want. This is what an annuity can do. Find the right financial professional to show you how. Learn more at protectedincome.org.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking this morning to columnist and author, Carrie Hannon. Carrie, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Well, it's wonderful to be here, Jeff. Of course I would stay with you.
Well, we haven't had a guest leave yet, but look, I got to keep my fingers crossed. Carrie, before we go to charitable giving, really important topic during the holiday season, you wanted to kind of close the first segment out with some investment tips for people on a fixed budget.
Yeah, I mean, it's important, I think, to remember there are some, don't ignore your investments at this point. The inflation is, popping up, but there are ways with, there are tips, the Treasury, inflation protective, you can get it correctly.
I can't get it correctly.
But there are ways that you can invest that's going to help build a little bit of cushion around for you. To keep in mind, the I bonds are actually another way that I've written about. And on Next Avenue, who I write a column for, they've written about these as well. So I would encourage listeners to check those out. And again, equities, don't forget, equities are still going to, over the long run, outperform most other investments. So you don't want to jettison your stocks at this point, but be mindful. But again, that's where your best chance of outpacing inflation.
Really good tips, and people should certainly talk about that either with their financial advisor or do their own research. Carrie, let's switch gears, because I don't have to be Warren Buffett to make charitable contributions and have them work for me from a tax planning perspective, but also giving back to my community and organizations I believe in. What do you say?
Yeah, no, I mean, my goodness, doesn't it feel great to give? I mean, honestly, and what we've all been through, I think the opportunity, if you can, to give back to others, this is the time of year to do it. Not only personally, because we're thinking about gift giving right now. And so what a great way. I talk about in the column I wrote for Market Watch about how my sister and I have sort of set up this thing that we do, that instead of giving material goods, we donate to the cause that the other cares about. So that's really important to think about as a great giving thing. But the government, the IRS, actually wants us to be more charitable. Through the pandemic, they started something last year, and they've pushed and continued it this year to make it, the tax incentives to giving. So we know that if you make a charitable donation and you itemize, which as an independent self-employed person, I do. That's why I think about it this time of year.
I do as well.
Yeah, there you go. So now is that, they encourage you to do that. They bumped up the limit that you can give as well. And so that's great. But the one thing I think your listeners might want to pay attention to is that if you do take that standard deduction, you can also take another $300 for individuals and $600 for married filing jointly, and charitable deductions right off the top of your income taxes or your income.
Carrie, to do that, let's talk a little bit about nuts and bolts. And I'm not quizzing you here. I just want to understand. It's not a quiz, but you probably know the answer. These are 501c3 under the tax code. So you would find an organization that is classified as that. You make a contribution, and then they usually give you a receipt, right? And you give that receipt either to your CPA or you include it in your tax package to the government.
Yeah, make sure you have it. That's really important. And a good way, Jeff, if you aren't familiar with the organization already, you can check out what kind of track record they have on some good websites, like Charity Navigator is one and Charity Watch is another, just to make sure you know a little bit more about them. But record keeping is critical in anything we do with the IRS, correct? So if you're looking for a deduction, by all means, make sure you've got the paperwork to back that up. But, moving forward, and I talk about this at the end of my column, and I know you probably are aware of this also, there's all kinds of great ways to do charitable donations from retirement accounts and donor advised funds. But these are things that you put in place a little earlier in the year than right now.
Yeah, it's really important to make sure you understand all the nuts and bolts around charitable giving, but also know to whom and what you're giving that money to. And I feel like we've done a great plug for the Internal Revenue Service. They should be thanking us on this program for all the great work. No, and all kidding aside, it's important to incentivize people to give. Americans love to give. We're such a generous people in general. This is the time of year to do it, but also think about it going into 2022. Carrie, great to talk to you as always. Good luck on the new book. We're going to look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Yeah, and here's to a healthy and happy new year for you, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Cheers. And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in lifestyle, wellness, tech, finance, so much more, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to see our latest content or search our archives? Check out our website and our streaming partners, Roku, Samsung, Amazon, and over 100 more. We're back again tomorrow for BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.